अलराइट हेलो नमस्ते सम्पूर्णमा अलराइट म चाहिँ आज तपाईँहरूसँग यसो कुराकानी गर्न आएको छु अलराइट सो फोनको क्वालिटी जस्तो जे भए पनि यसो हेरिदिनु होला है ओके अलराइट पहिला अब एक दुईजना आउनुहोस् त्यस पछाडि कुरा गरौँ होला होइन सो यो गाइज के छ खबर नमस्ते जाडो छ काठमाडौँमा एकदम डरलाग्दो जाडो छ सर्दीले तपाईँहरू आउनुहोस् हेर्नुहोस् होइन बस्नुहोस् जानुहोस् यो लाइभ यत्तिकै छोडिदिन्छु म चाहिँ यसो बुक्सहरू पढ्नु पऱ्यो है त As I put the finishing touches on this सो है मैले चाहिँ यो अहिले एटोमिक ह्याबिट बुक पढ्दैछु अनि यो अस्तिदेखि नै पढ्न थालेको तर कम्प्लिट भएको छैन। या मैले कस्तो राम्रो कोइट भेटेँ क्या, मतलब एउटा भनाइ भेटेँ होइन, सुन्नुहोस् ल। हाउ दिस बुक विल बेनिफिट्स यु भन्ने एउटा टाइटल छ होइन। त्यसमा चाहिँ एउटा द एन्टरप्रेनर एन्ड इन्भेस्टर्स नोभेल रविकान्त ह्याज सेड होइन, टु राइट अ ग्रेट बुक यु मस्ट फर्स्ट बिकम द बुक होइन। कस्तो दामी लाग्यो मलाई। नोभेल रविकान्तले भन्नुभएको रहेछ कि टु राइट अ ग्रेट बुक यु मस्ट फर्स्ट बिकम द बुक। एउटा महान किताब लेख्नका लागि सबैभन्दा पहिला तिमी आफै किताब हुनुपर्छ, त्यही भन्नु खोजेको होइन। वाउ, नाइस। यु मस्ट फर्स्ट बिकम द बुक भनेको पहिला सबैभन्दा पहिला तिमी आफै किताब बन्नुपर्छ भन्नु खोजेको होला होइन। ओके, आई ओरिजिनली learned about the ideas mentioned here because I had to leave them. I had to really small habits to rebound from my injury, to get stronger in the gym, to perform at a high level on the field, to become a writer, to build a successful business, and simply to develop into a responsible adult. Small habits help me and fulfill my potential. And since you picked up this book, I'm guessing you'd like to fulfill yours as well. मेरो अलिकति इङ्ग्लिस राम्रो छैन, सो यो लाइभबाट चाहिँ म कुराहरू पनि मतलब अब आफू बुक्स पनि पढ्ने अनि बुक्स पढ्दै तपाईँहरूसँग कुराकानी पनि हुन्छ, लाइभ पनि हुन्छ। अनि यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ दुइटै फाइदा हुन्छ। हजुरहरूसँग कुराकानी गर्न पनि पाउँछु, म आफ्नो मेरो फेभरेट बुक्स पनि पढ्न पाउँछु। सो मेरो इन्टेन्सन चाहिँ त्यही हो है। ओके, सो म हरेक एभ्री डे 10 पेज पढ्नेछु है त, लाइभमा आएर 10 पेज पढ्नेछु। सो अब कति दिनमा सकिन्छ आई डोन्ट नो। यो 270 भनेपछि सरी यो अलमोस्ट 264 पेजेस छ मेन च्याप्टर चाहिँ। अनि त्यस पछाडि वर्ड मिनिङहरू छ होइन। सो अरू कुराहरू बिस्तारै हेरौँला। मैले अब यो 264 पेज चाहिँ अब सक्नुपर्छ होइन। सो अब म तपाईँहरूसँग अब आजबाट अब हुन त अस्तिदेखि नै पढेको मैले, तर मैले कन्टिन्यू अब यसरी लाइभमा पढ्न पाएँ भने चाहिँ राम्रो हुन्छ भनेर तपाईँहरूसँग आएर मैले यो बुक्स पढ्न लागेको है त। यसको नाम चाहिँ एटोमिक ह्याबिट है, एटोमिक ह्याबिट एन इजी एन्ड प्रुभन वे टु बिल्ड गुड ह्याबिट्स एन्ड ब्रेक ब्याड वान्स है। वाउ, दिस एकदमै क्रेजी बुक छ कि यो बुक एकदमै अति बवाल क्रेजी छ है। तपाईँहरूले पनि पढ्नु होला है त। म चाहिँ इफ मेरो इङ्ग्लिस मिस्टेक भयो भने चाहिँ प्लिज हजुरहरूले मेरो करेक्सन गरिदिनु ल कमेन्टमा है, प्लिज है। ओके, आई नो तपाईँहरू अहिलेसम्म पनि अब आउनु भएको छैन, अब बिस्तारै आउनुहुन्छ होला, तर पनि तपाईँहरू आउनुभए ठिक छ, नआउनु भए पनि ठिक छ होइन, तर म आफ्नो काम चाहिँ गरिबस्नेछु है त। ओके, सो माई स्टोरी। ओके, सुरुमा इन्ट्रोडक्सन है, सुरुमा म चाहिँ यो चाहिँ फर्स्ट च्याप्टर पढ्दैछु है त, इन्ट्रोडक्सन माई स्टोरी। अब यसमा मैले अब यो भिडियोमा मेरो भनेको छु मैले, अब एडिट गर्न मिल्दैन, त्यही भएर तपाईँहरूलाई यसरी देखाइदिएँ है त। इन्ट्रोडक्सन माई स्टोरी। ल, यो बुकको राइटर चाहिँ हुनुहुन्छ जेम्स क्लेयर है। अनि एन इजी एन्ड प्रुभन वे टु बिल्ड गुड ह्याबिट एन्ड ब्रेक ब्याड वान्स है। कस्तो राम्रो छ यसको टाइटल पनि। सो मलाई चाहिँ यो बुक चाहिँ धेरै मैले अब धेरै युट्युबरहरू फलो गरेको छु, अनि उहाँहरूले रिकमेन्ड गरिबस्नुहुन्थ्यो क्या, अनि यो बुक कस्तो होला, यो बुक कस्तो होला भनेर। सो आज चाहिँ यो बुक पढ्दैछु है त। ओके, सो यो बुक चाहिँ यसरी स्टार्ट हुन्छ है त। ओके, सुरुमा चाहिँ इन्ट्रोडक्सन माई माई स्टोरी। तपाईँहरूले काहीँ मिस्टेक भयो भने करेक्सन गरिदिनु है त। अन द फाइनल डे अफ माई सोफोमोर, SOPHOMORS, sophomore नै होला होइन, sophomore. Okay, year of high school, I was hit in the face with a basketball bat as my classmate took a fulfilled swing. The bat slipped out of his hand and came flying towards me before striking me directly between the eyes. I have no memory of the a moment of impact. Okay. The bat smashed into my face with such force that it crossed my nose into a distractor. Distract. Distracted. Okay. मलाई अलिकति कतिवटा वर्डहरू चाहिँ गाह्रो पर्छ कि पढ्न। अब मेरो ब्याकग्राउन्ड नेपाली स्कुलबाट हो होइन, गभर्मेन्ट स्कुलबाट, अनि त्यसै पनि अब म अलिकति कमजोर नै छु इङ्ग्लिसमा, तरै पनि अब गभर्मेन्ट स्कुल भनेर फेरि मैले त्यो गर्न खोजेको होइन। लाइक हामी अलिक विक नै हुन्छौँ गभर्मेन्ट ब्याकग्राउन्डको, तर मेहनतमै डिपेन्ड्स हो। अब फेरि गभर्मेन्टबाट पढेर मेहनत गर्नेले फेरि ठुल्ठुलो कस्तो राम्रो गरिरहनु भएको छ, आई एप्रिसिएटेड द्याट होइन, तर म चाहिँ कमजोरै छु। That bat smashed into my face with such force that it crossed my nose into a distracted U shape. The collisions and the soft tissue of my brain slamming into the inside of my skull. Immediately, a wave of swelling surged throughout my head. Into a fraction of a second, I had a broken nose, multiple skull fractures, and two shattered eye sockets. When I opened my eyes, I saw people staring at me and running over to help. I looked down and noticed spots of red on my clothes. One of my classmates took their shirt off and black and handed to me. I used it to block the stream of blood rushing from my broken nose. Shocked and confused, I was unaware of how seriously I had been injured. My teachers locked his arm around my shoulders and we began the long walk to the nurse office across the field, down the hill, and back into school. Random hands touched my side, holding me upright. We took our time and walked slowly. Walk slowly. Nobody realized that every minute matters. When we arrived at nurse office, she asked me a series of questions. What year it is? 1998, I answered. It was actually 2002. Who is the President of the United States? Bill Clinton, I said. The correct answer was George W. Bush. What is your mom's name? I still 10 second patch. And Patti, I said, casually ignoring the fact that it had taken me 10 seconds to remember my own mother's name. Oh my god. That is the last question I remember. My blood was unable to handle the rapid swelling in my brain, and I lost consequences before the ambulance arrived. Minutes later, I was cried out of school and taken to the local hospital. Shortly after arriving, my body began shutting down. I struggled with basic functions like swallowing and breathing. I had my first surgery of the day, then I stopped breathing entirely as the doctor hurried to supply me with oxygen. They also decided the local hospital was unquiet to handle the situation and ordered a helicopter to fly me to a large hospital in यो मलाई होइन एकदमै हार्ड वर्ड लाग्यो अब सिआइएनए सिन्सिनाटी साइन्स एकदमै मलाई चाहिँ गाह्रो लाग्यो है। यस्तो हुन्छ कतिवटा अब कतिवटा वर्डहरू यस्तो हुन्छ जो चाहिँ मलाई एकदमै गाह्रो लाग्छ है। अब उता हामी अब हाम्रो नेटिभ ल्याङ्ग्वेज नेपाली हो नि त, अब हामी अब कतिवटा वर्डहरूमा फ्यामिलियर हुँदैनौँ, नामहरू कतिवटा प्रोनाउन्स गर्नै आउँदैन हामीलाई। अब हामीलाई सरी मलाई अब हजुरलाई आउँछ होइन। अब वाज रोल्ड आउट अफ द emergency room doctor and toward the toward the helipad across the street. The stretchers rattled on a bumpy sidewalk as one nurse pushed me along with while another pumped each breath into me and my hand. My mother, who had arrived at the hospital a few moments before climbing into the helicopter beside me, I remained unconscious and unable to breathe on my own as he held my hand during the flight. While my mother rode with me in the helicopter, my father went home to check on my brother and sisters, break the news to them. He choked back tears as he explained to my sisters that he would miss her eighth grade graduation ceremony that night. After passing my siblings of family and friends, he drove to Vienna minus Cincinnati to meet my mothers. When my mom and I landed on the roof of the hospital, a team of nearly 20 doctors and nurses sprinted onto the helipad and wheeled me into the trauma unit. By this time, the swelling in my brain had become so strong that I was having repeated put traumatic seizures. यो चाहिँ के हो? SEIZURES seizures त्यही होला. My broken bones needed to be fixed, but I was in no condition to un- undergoes surgery. After yet another scourger, my third of the day, I was put into a medically induced coma and placed on a ventilator. My parents were no strangers to the hospital. 10 years earlier, they had entered the same building on the ground floor after my sister was diagnosed with leukemia at age 3. Oh, I was 5 at the time. My brother was just 6 months old. After 2.5 years of uh, chemotherapy हो कतिवटा वर्डहरू है chemotherapy treatments, spinal taps and bone marrow biopsy. यो यस्तो छ कतिवटा कुराहरू जस्तो हुन्छ नि, यो मेडिकल वर्डहरू छ नि मलाई एकदमै गाह्रो लाग्छ प्रोनाउन्स गर्न। अब अलिक प्र्याक्टिस नभएर पनि हो, तर कतिवटा यो मेडिकल वर्डहरू हुन्छ नि यो एकदमै गाह्रो लाग्छ। अनि अर्को कुरा चाहिँ हुन्छ नि अब म कतिवटा नेमहरूमा फ्यामिलियर छुइनँ कि, त्यही भएर मलाई कतिवटा कुराहरूमा चाहिँ गाह्रो लाग्छ। Then I just ignore it. Okay. I was fine at the time. And my brother was just 6 old after 2.5 years of chemotherapy treatments, spinal taps, and bone marrow biopsies. My little sister finally walk out of the hospital happy, healthy, and cancer free. And now, after 10 years of normal life, my parents found themselves black in the same place with a different child. While I slipped into a coma, the hospital sent a priest and a social worker to comfort my parents. It was the same priest who had met with them a decade earlier. In the evening, they found out my sister and cancer. As they faded into last night, a series of machines kept me alive. My parents slept restlessly on a hospital mattress. One moment they would collapse from fatigue. The next day they would be wide awake with worry. My mother would tell me later it was one of the worst nights I have ever had. आज मेरो टार्गेट चाहिँ 10 पेज छ है। अब अब कसरी चाहिँ रिकभर हुँदो रहेछ है। अब म एकदमै एकदमै अब म पढेँ, अब जस्तै सरर पढिरहेको छु। एन्ड प्लिज गाइज टु कमेन्ट है। मैले हजुरलाई अगाडि नै भनिसकेको छु मेरो इङ्ग्लिस इज भेरी टेरिबल, तर पनि अब आइएम ट्राइङ टु स्पिक इन इङ्ग्लिस। अनि अब कहिलेकाहीँ नेपाली ब्रोकन इङ्ग्लिस होइन। अब हामी त नेटिभ ल्याङ्ग्वेज त अब हाम्रो त नेपाली हो नि त। अनि हामी कतिवटा वर्डहरूमा फ्यामिलियर छैनौँ। विशेष गरेर म होइन, म फ्यामिलियर छैन। तर पनि लाइक प्र्याक्टिस गऱ्यो भने हुँदो रहेछ। पहिला लाइक म कतिवटा सिम्पल वर्डहरू पनि प्रोनाउन्स गर्न सक्दिनँ थिएँ, तर जस कोसिस गर्दै गए पछाडि चाहिँ हुँदो रहेछ है। मैले त्यो फिल गरेको कुरा। अनि हजुरहरूले पनि अब कन्टिन्युसली बुक्सहरू पढ्नुभयो भने, आर्टिकल्सहरू पोडकास्टहरू हेर्नुभयो सुन्नुभयो भने, अब अनि विशेष गरी त्यो सब टाइटल्सहरू हेर्नुभयो भने पनि धेरै हेल्प मिल्दो रहेछ। अनि तर पनि अब मलाई नि अहिले चाहिँ अलिकति जस अब धेरै कन्फिडेन्ट बढ्छ, अब बढ्दैछ भनौँ। अब किनभने अब हाम्रो त कोही इङ्ग्लिस बोल्ने साथी पनि छैन होइन, हुँदैन। अब हामी एभ्री टाइम डे एन्ड नाइट हामी नेपाली नै बोलिरहेको हुन्छौँ नि त। त्यही भएर हामी कतिवटा वर्डहरूमा फ्यामिलियर हुँदैनौँ। अनि त्यही माथि हाम्रो नेटिभ ल्याङ्ग्वेज पनि होइन नि त। त्यही भएर पनि तर कोसिस गऱ्यो भने चाहिँ सकिन्छ जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई। अभियसली सकिन्छ, किनभने अरूले सकिरहनु भएको छ भने हामी किन सक्दैन होइन। त्यही हो। तर यो लाइफको मेन इन्टेन्सन भनेको चाहिँ मैले भनिसकेँ तपाईँहरूलाई होइन। एभ्रिथिङ र एन्ड रियल, नो फिल्टर नो एडिट होइन। मेरो मेन इन्टेन्सन भनेको चाहिँ नो फिल्टर नो एडिट, सब कुरा रियल, एभ्रिथिङ रियल, एभ्रिथिङ रियल होइन। एभ्रिथिङ हुन्छ नि र। त्यही हो। ओके, माई रिकभरी। अब कसरी रिकभरी हुँदो रहेछ है त। अब mercifully, by the next morning, my breathing had rebounded to the point where the doctors felt comfortable releasing me from the coma. When I finally regained consciousness, I discovered that I had lost my ability to smell. As a test, a nurse asked me to blow my nose and sniff an apple juice box. My sense of smell returned, but to everyone's surprise, the act of boiling, the blowing my nose forced air through the fractures in my nose socked and pushed my left eye outward. My eyeball blurred out of the socked held precariously in place by my eye and the optic nerve attaching my eye to my brain. कतिवटा वर्डहरू एकदमै गाह्रो छ है। द ophthalmologist said my eye would gradually slide back into place as the air seeped out, but it was hard to tell how long this would take. I was scheduled for surgery 1 week later, which would allow me some additional time to heal. I looked like I had been one of on the wrong enough boxing match, but I was clear to leave the hospital. I returned home with a broken nose, half dozens of facial fractures, and a bleeding left eye. The following month were hard. It felt like everything in my life was on pause. I had double vision for weeks. I literally couldn't see straight. It took more than a month, but my eyeball did eventually return to its normal location between the scutes and my vision problems. It was 8 months before I could drive a car again. At physical therapy, I practiced basic motor pattern like walking in a straight line. I was determined not to let my injury get me down, but there were more than a few moments when I felt this depressed and overwhelmed. मैले धेरै मिस्टेक गरिसकेँ है, तपाईँले नोटिस गर्नुहुँदैछ, मलाई चाहिँ फिल भइरहेको छ है। जस्ट यो चाहिँ मैले पढिरहेको छु, अब मैले फेरि यसलाई सुधार्नुपर्छ है त। अब मेरो मेरो अब यहाँसम्म पुग्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब मेरो यहाँसम्म पुग्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब मेरो यहाँसम्म लास्ट पेजमा पुग्दाखेरि चाहिँ कतिको हुँदो रहेछ है त। ओके, लेट्स सी है त। I became painfully aware of how far I had to go when I returned to the basketball field 1 year later. Basketball had always been a major part of my life. My dad had played minor league basketball for the St. Louis Cardinal, and I had a dream of playing professional too. After months of rehabilitation, so what I wanted more than anything was to get was to get back on the field. देख्नुभयो, मैले एउटा मिस्टेक गरेँ। रिह्याबिलिटेसन, अब रिह्याबिलिटेसन हो, यस्तो वर्डहरू कतिवटा वर्डहरू हुन्छ जो हामीलाई आउँदा अलिकति मलाई स्पेसली हो, मलाई अनेस्टली भन्छु तपाईँहरूलाई होइन, मैले फेरि त्यो जानेको जस्तो गरेर मैले मिस्टेक पढ्नु भएन नि त। REHABILITATION, रिह्याबिलिटेसन। ओके, मैले अब थाहा भयो, रिह्याबिलिटेसन। ओके, रिह्याबिलिटेसन। ओके, but my return to baseball was not smooth away. When the season rolled around, I was the only junior to be caught from the varsity baseball team. I was sent down to play with the sophomores on junior varsity. I had been playing since age 4, and for someone who had spent so much time and effort on the sport, getting cut was humiliating. I vividly remember the day it happened. I sat in my car and cried as I flipped through the radio. Uh, Desperately, I searching for a song that would make make me feel better. Mm, but after a year of self-doubt, I managed to make the varsity team as a senior, but I rarely made it one of the field into total. I played even inning of high school varsity baseball, barely more than a single game, despite my lack, lackluster, okay, कस्तो अप्ठ्यारो रहेछ, lackluster high school career. I still believe I could become a great player, and I knew that if things were going to improve, I was the one responsible for making it happen. The turning point came 2 years after my injury, when I began college at Dino Venetian University. It was a new beginning, and it was the place where I would discover the surprising power of my small habit for the first time. Okay, मलाई कस्तो के भयो क्या, त्यो पुरा ब्ल्याङ्क भएको जस्तो कि पुरै एकैचोटि कि अन्धकार के भए जस्तो भयो क्या, के भयो मलाई ओके हाउ आई हाउ आई लर्न अबाउट ह्याबिट्स, मैले कसरी ह्याबिटको बारेमा पढेँ सिकेँ ओके attending decision was one of the best decisions of my life. I earned a spot on the baseball team, and although I was at the bottom of the roster as a freshman, I was thrilled despite the chance and despite the chaos of my high school years. I had managed to become a college athlete. I wasn't going to be starting on the baseball team anything soon, so I focused on getting my life in order while my peers stay up late and played video games. I built good sleep habit and went to bed early each night in the messy world of college dorm. I made a point to point to point to keep my room neat and tidy. These improvements were minor, but they gave me a sense of control over my life. I started to feel confident again, and this growing belief in myself rippled into the classroom as I improved my study habit and managed to earn straight A's during my first year. A habit is a routine of behavior that is performed regularly and in many cases automatically. As its semesters passed, I accumulated a small but consistent habit that ultimately led to results that were unimaginable to me when I started. For example, for the first time in my life, I made it a habit to lift weight multiple times per week, and in the years that followed, my 6 foot 4 inch frame bulked up from a Fit wide, feather wide 170 to a lean 200 pounds. When my sophomore seasons arrived, I earned a starting role on the pitching staff. By my junior year, I was voted team captains, and at the end of the seasons, I was selected for the all conf, confi, के भयो I was selected for the all conference team, but it was not until my senior seasons that my sleep habit, study habit, and the strength training habits really began to pay off. 6 years after I had been hit in the face with a baseball bat, flown to a hospital and placed into a coma, I was selected as the top male athlete at Dean's University and named to the ESPN Academic All-America team, an honor given to just 33 players across the country. By the time I graduated, I was listed in the school record books in 8 different categories. That same year, I was awarded the university's highest academic honor, the President's Medal. Oh wow, President, I hope you'll forgive me if this sounds boastful. To be honest, there was nothing legendary or historic about my athletic career. I never ended up playing professionally. However, looking back on those years, I believe I accomplished something just as rare. I fulfilled my potential, and I believe the concept in this book can help you fulfill your potential. potential as well. We all face challenges in life. This injury was one of mine, and the experience taught me a critical lessons. Changes that seem small and unimportant, wow, unimportant at first will compound into remarkable results if you are willing to stick with them for years. We all deal with stay back with in the long run. The quality of our lives fun depends on the quality of our habits. With the same habits you will end up with the same results, but with better habits anything is possible. Maybe there are people who can achieve incredible success overnight. I don't know any of them, but I am certainly not one of them. There wasn't one defining moment on my journey from medically induced coma to academic all American. There were many. It was a gradual evolution, a long series of small wins and tiny breakthroughs. The only way I made progress, the only choice I had was to start small, and I employed this same strategy a few years later when I started my own business and began working on this book. How and why I wrote this book? Okay. In November 2012, I began publishing an article at jamesclear.com. For years, I had been keeping notes about my personal experiments with habits, and I was finally ready to share some of them publicly. I began by publishing a new article every Monday and Thursday. Within a few months, this simple writing habit led to my first 1000 email subscriber, and by the end of 2013 that number had grown to more than 30,000 people. In 2014 my list expanded to over 100,000 subscribers. Oh my god, 1000 subscribers, 1000 subscriber, 100,000, oh sorry, 100,000, oh, which made it one of the fastest growing newsletters on the internet. I had felt like an imposter when I began writing 2 years earlier, but now I was becoming known as an expert on habits. Wow. मलाई त बहुत मनपर्छ यार उहाँ त जेम्स क्लार्क. I had begun writing 2 years earlier, but now I was becoming known as an expert on habits. Wow, a new level that excited me but also felt uncomfortable. I had never considered myself a master of the topic, but rather someone who was experimenting alongside my readers. अब आजको लागि सक्नु आँट्यो है. अब आजको लागि यति पढ्यो भने मेरो लागि इनफ हुन्छ. दिनमा 10 पेज है हाम्रो एउटा लाइभमा. इन 2015 आई रिच्ड 200,000. सरी गाइज है म थोरै ब्याक भएँ. ओके, हाउ दिस बुक विल बेनिफिट सरी. ओके, अब जस्ट 2 पेज मात्रै बाँकी छ है. इन 2015 आई रिच्ड 200,000 email subscriber and signed a book deal with पेन्गुइन. ओ पेन्गुइन भन्दा मलाई एउटा कुरा याद आयो. कस्तो दामी है त्यो पेन्गुइनको स्टोरी. तपाईँहरूले हेर्नुभयो भने ओ माई गड यार, त्यो त्यस्तो दामी लाग्यो. तपाईँहरूले गएर एकचोटि हेर्नु होला है, प्लिज गएर एकचोटि हेर्नु होला. त्यो स्टोरी त म त नि यस्तो मन पऱ्यो नि त्यो तपाईँहरूलाई म आइल सेयर लेटर है। मलाई त्यो म केही समय पछाडि केही दिन पछाडि म सेयर गर्छु है मजाले रिसर्च गरेर। In 2015, I raised 200,000 email subscriber and signed a book deal with Penguin Random House to begin writing the book you are reading now. As my audience grew, so did my businesses. Sorry, यस्तो के भन्छ यसलाई so did my business opportunities. I was increasingly asked to speak at top companies about the science of habit in formations, behavior change, and continuous improvements. I found myself delivering keynote speeches at conference in the United States and Europe. Okay. In 2016, my articles began to appear regularly in major publications like Time, uh, Entrepreneur, and Forbes. Incredibly, my writing was read by over 80 million people that year. Coaches in the NFL, NBA, and MLB began reading my work and sharing it with their teams. At the start of 2017, I launched the Habit Academy, which became the premier training platform for organization and individual uh, interested in building better habits in life and work. Fortune 500 companies and growing startups began to enroll their leaders and train their staff. In total, over 10,000 leaders, managers, coaches, and teachers have graduated from the Habit Academy. Oh, Habit Academy पनि रहेछ होइन के हो यो युनिभर्सिटी हो कि हाई स्कुल हो आएन तर एक्चुली सर्च गरेर हेर्नु पऱ्यो have and graduate from the Habit Academy, and my work with them has taught me an incredible amount about what it takes to make habits work in the real world. As I put the finishing touches on this book in 2018, JamesClear.com is receiving millions of visitors per month, and nearly 500 that is so far beyond my expectations uh, when I began that I am not even sure what to think of it. Was this book will benefit you? The entrepreneur and investor Naval Ravikant has said, to write a great book, you must first become the book. Wow. I originally learned about the ideas mentioned here because I had to live them. I had to really earn small habits to rebound from my injury to get stronger in the gym in the gym to perform at a high level on the field, to become a writer, to build a successful business, and simply to develop into a responsible adult. Small habits help me fulfill my potential, and since you picked me this book, I'm guessing you'd like to fulfill yours as well. In the pages that follow, I will share step-by-step plans for building better habits, not for days or weeks, but for a lifetime. While science supports everything I have written, this book is not an academic research paper, it's an operating manual. You will find wisdom and practical advice front and center as I explain the science of how to create and change your habits in a way that is easy to understand and apply. The fields I draw on biology, neuroscience, philosophy, psychology, and more have been around for many years. What I offer you is a synthesis of the beside ideas smart people figured out a long time ago, as well as the most compelling discoveries scientists have made recently. My contributions, I hope, is it is to find the ideas that matter most and connect them in a way that is highly actionable. Anything wise in those pages, mm, you should credit to the main expert who prece- preceded me. Anything, please assume it is my error. The backbone of this book is my four-step model of habit, cue, cravings, craving response, and reward, and the four laws of behavior change that evolves one of these step reader with a psychology backgrounds may recognize some of these terms from operant conditioning, which was first proposed as stimulus response reward by B.F. Skinner in the 1930s and has been popularized more recently as cue routine reward, the power of habit by Charles Duhigg. Malay, no? Charles Duhigg. Behavioral scientists like Skinner realized that if you offer the right reward of punishment, you could get mm, people to act in a certain way. But while Skinner model did an excellent job of explaining how internal stimuli influence our habit, it lacked a good explanation for how our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs impact our behavior. Internal states, our moods and emotions matter too. In recent decades, scientists have begun to determine the connections between our thoughts, feelings, and behavior. This research will also be covered in these pages. In total, framework I offer in an integrated integrated model of the cognitive behavioral science. I believe in it is one of the first model of human behavior of accurately account for both the influence of external stimuli and internal emotions of our habits. While some of language may be familiar, I'm confident that the details and the um, applications of four laws of behavior change will offer a new way to think about your habits. Human behavior is always changing, situation to situation, um, moment to moment, second to second. But this book is about what doesn't change. Wow, it about the fundamentals of human behaviors, the lasting principle you can really on year after year, the ideas you can build businesses around, build a family around, build a life around. There is no one and there is no one right way to create better habits, but this book subscribe the best way I know, an approach that will be effective regardless of where you start or what you are trying to change. The strategies I cover will be relevant to anyone looking for a step-by-step system for improvement, whether your goals center on health, money, productivity, pity, relationships, are all of the above. As long as human behavior is involved, this book will be your guide. Oh my god, यति कस्तो डिप मिनिङ छ क्या यो बुकमा होइन। मैले हुन त कतिवटा मिस्टेक्स गरेँ पढ्दाखेरि, किनभने म कतिवटा वर्डहरूमा फ्यामिलियर छैन होइन। आजको लागि मैले 10 पेज पढिसकेँ। अनि हुन्छ नि लाइक कतिवटा वर्डहरू यस्तो कस्तो हुन्छ नि पढ्नै आउँदैन क्या। लाइक अब हुन्छ नि त्यो मेडिकल वर्डहरू अनि कुनै अब नामहरू हुन्छ नि त्यस्तो वर्डहरू हामीलाई पढ्न आउँदैन। तर एनिवेज मैले कोसिस गरेँ, मेरो कोसिस एकदमै वर्स थियो होइन। अब आज तपाईँहरूले नोटिस गर्नुभयो होला, अब यो लाइफ तपाईँहरूले पछि हेर्नुभयो भने पनि ओ रोशनले यति धेरै मिस्टेक गर्यो भनेर चाहिँ तपाईँहरूले पनि पछि भन्न सक्नुहुन्छ होइन। मैले यति धेरै मिस्टेक गरेँ होइन, मलाई त्यो फिल भइरहेको थियो यो पनि मेरो मिस्टेक हो, यो पनि मेरो मिस्टेक भयो, मैले यसमा अलिकति के छुट्याएँ, अलिकति के छुट्याएँ, मैले यो त प्रोनाउन्सले गर्न जानिनँ, मैले 100+ मिस्टेक गरेँ होइन। तर पनि नो वरिज, एभ्री भन्छ नि 1% बेटर गर्दै जानुपर्छ, अनि त्यही हो। सो बाई बाई गाइज, आजलाई यति नै। सो थ्याङ्क यू सो मच फर वाचिङ my live stream, and thank you so much for your love, your support, and your constant love नै भन्छु म होइन। तपाईँहरूले आजसम्म माया गरिरहनु भएको छ, थ्याङ्क यू सो मच फर एभ्रिथिङ, एन्ड बाई बाई, गुड नाइट, एन्ड भोलि भेटौँ है त। गुड नाइट है, गुड नाइट है, गुड नाइट।